We're going to have a dual presentation, as I mentioned and promised, with a kind of a case study, if you like, looking at what's happening in Subaru over in Indiana. I'd like to first bring up Michael Meier, who's the president of Venture Global Solutions.
Thanks, Chris. Thank you, Chris. Hi, everyone. Good morning. Louis and we always have these challenges. I think I met him back in 2005. And, going back to that, it was always, we talked about the conference and how do we get better and what do we want to hear and how do we do it. And we'd go back and forth and bicker, and I'd always say no one wants to change. Everybody wants to talk about the collaboration and talk about technology. And it was almost like Louis met Darryl Bowl 2015 and said, hey, call Mike Meier. I got the chance to meet Darryl. He came from the Toyota side. He was in Lafayette, and we met probably 2015 mid-year, October of 2015. He says, Mike, I need a new TMS system. I need a new optimization system. We're going to implement lean separation centers. We're going to go through 100% production increase. We're going to implement a new vehicle. My yard needs improvement. And we're going to do this in February 2016. So I met my challenge, and I've enjoyed the journey. Today we talk about brains over brawn. You still need the brawn to execute the brains of it. And what Darryl will talk through today, because he's going to spend the majority of it on this case study, is you need the innovation, you need the passion, you need the forward thinking, and Darryl gets that. He understands it. He knew where he wanted to go, and he had a great partner with Venture and a lot of our people. And for the last 2 years at Venture, Mel's talked, Rusty's talked about the people aspect of it, and I agree. I've dealt through those challenges over the last 2 years of finding the right people that get it and understand it, want to work hard and do that work. And what you'll hear today is you're going to hear the results of that. You're going to hear about a new optimization system that went live. And I would say anytime you go through a launch, was it flawlessly? It was, I would say, from our eyes as operations, who folks are in operations, it was a flawless launch. We implemented a new TMS system. We implemented lean separation centers. We've achieved significant reduction in miles and cost and improved the flow in their footprint of what they're doing today. It's been a true partnership. We've been in this automotive, folks that have been in it for quite some time. We get the knack of the OEM or the tier beating on the LSP provider. I can tell you, I've never had a conversation where Darryl's called one of my people, right, and chewed him or said, hey, this is wrong and it's your fault. It was always, hey, if there's an issue, how do we fix it together, right? How do we use our technology to do that? He'll walk you through that today. When we did this, it wasn't a team of hundreds and thousands of people going in and doing it. My team from a leadership side, we had about 6 to 7 project leaders on it. Darryl had maybe 3 to 5. And this was all achieved over a 1-year period. So as we go through it today, you'll hear about a great product. You're going to hear a great story. But again, back to the topic of brains over brawn, I pride myself and I push my team and tell them, hey, let's not be outworked. Let's not do that. During this project, through 1 year, we were launching one of our separation centers, our lean centers, and through this lean transformation, I called Darryl and I said, Darryl, I haven't slept in 2 to 3 days. Right? And he said, Mike, please don't complain. He says, I haven't left the plant in a week. And that's a true story. So today you're going to hear about someone that's a hard worker, understands it, gets it, was part of something of implementing an optimization system, a TMS system, a new cross-dock management system, a new YMS system, and the results are there. So with that said, I'd like to introduce Darryl Bowl.
Thanks, Mike. Good morning. First off, I'd like to start with a little bit of history. So we'll talk a little bit about SIA and where we've been and what we've been doing. We'll talk a little bit about why we had to make the change. Why did we want to do this? What was the perceived outcome? Our transformation timeline, why we partner with VGS, our overall supply chain alignment, our route planning from a pre and post viewpoint, our technology, the purpose of why we had to have this prior to our Impreza launch, the restructuring, the new yard management system, and our current and future Kaizens. So I'll tell you a little bit about SIA. This year we celebrate 30 years of manufacturing in North America. We sit on approximately 820 acres. Sorry, I'm all broke up this morning. 820 acres and have 4.5 million square feet of workable space. That has almost 17 miles of conveyor inside. We are capable of producing up to 450,000 vehicles per year on 2 separate production lines. Most recently, we have just added our second paint shop and an additional line capacity for assembly lines. We currently produce the Subaru Outback, the Subaru Legacy, the 4-door and 5-door Impreza, and with the newly coming next year is the Ascent, the Subaru Ascent. That's our 8-passenger vehicle. So to take you through the journey, what did we have to do? What were we looking for prior to the Impreza launch? Well, first off, if it turns, we needed production flexibility. We needed to be able to change our production methods at any given point in time, very quickly, very rapidly. We had to be agile. Next, we had our warehouse management. We had warehouse space that was given up to production, and we had to determine, how do we address that? What do we do with space? How do we reduce the required amount of space that we need? Increased volume. We went through volume increases dramatically. We had to address that. Adapting to schedule changes. We had to be effective and efficient in our processes inside and externally. We had mixed production, multiple models on one single line. We also had bridge production, one model on 2 separate lines. And then we needed part separation. And I may need a little help here. There it goes. So what was it about all of these things? There we go. So first off, we knew that in our warehouse, we were going to convert it to assembly space. We're now going to produce cars in what we used to store parts in. So we had to reduce inventory. We knew from an inventory policy, we were going to go from 1 day of inventory, standard inventory, down to 4.5 hours. So we had to keep a repeatable flow. And from our parts ordering side, we wanted more of a throughput, very fast, very flexible. We wanted very high frequency, low volume inventory coming into our system. By doing this, we were able to increase our capacity, effectively use existing plant space, and streamline our processes. So from the baseline, back in 2015 is where we started. We weren't hooked up with Venture yet. We weren't prepared for the optimization. We were using spreadsheets and maps to set up our routing. We would bring anything in from 1 day to 5 days at a time, try to manage that through our system. We would have to control that inventory and hope that we got the next shipment in on time. In 2016, we started to optimize. One of the key optimization is we went from 850 a day to 1,000 a day. We had separation centers, we had technical solutions, and we were also able to start that lean process flow for Subaru. How do I get that repeatable flow of parts into the system? In July of 16, we added a second production line. We called our B line. We needed deliveries by specific docks into specific line groups at the specific volumes. We at that point went to 1,350 a day. The new product came on in October of 16. This is where we started the Impreza. We had over 50 new suppliers. We were building 1,600 in daily volume at this point and had over 1,000 new parts. We added a whole new mountain of complexity, right? So we're now up to 8,500 parts for a plant that's running 5 different models on 2 different production lines. January of 17, we looked at it again and said it's time to reroute and re-optimize. We have to know where we're going and are we doing the right thing. We were able to do that and see an immediate cost per unit. And then in April of 17, just recently, we started the new YMS system. Our new yard system to be able to track and trace everything inside, outside the yard, knowing exactly what's on it, where it's at, and how to address it. Sorry, this thing just doesn't like me this morning. There we go. Okay, so let's kind of look at that from a volume base. In 2015, we ran 1 production line at about 850 a day. Not so complex, pretty simple. In February 16, we started to optimize because now we have to prepare for the Impreza launch. We have to prepare for the complexity that's coming. In July of 17, we had the A line and we started up production on our 2nd production line. We now have the B line. Our production increased to 1,600. We have to be able to manage these parts in case one line or another goes down or some other issue happens, and this all has to be addressed within the supply chain. From January of 17, we went ahead and re-optimized it to see where we were at and how we could get better, and we were able to do that. We reduced cost in 2017, and then for the future of 18, we're going to increase again to level off at about 1,800 per day. Once again, adding more complexity with a new model, adding more difficulties from a production line, and adding more complexity to our whole supply chain. So how did we get there? What are some of the things that we've got to look at? First off is total alignment. I believe Rusty talked about silos, right? Silos is one of the first things that had to come down. So even within the organization, whether it's your purchasing group, your engineering group, your materials management group, all silos had to be broke down. We're not all going to do the same thing, just in different viewpoints. So that was one of the first things that happened is we tore down the silos. They're all gone, right? We went to a one voice system where we're able to communicate internally to our external suppliers, 3PLs, et cetera, to make sure we're all talking the same voice. That was very important to us. Once we were able to do that, now we have to work with the supply chain. Supply chain's got to follow suit, so we've got to get alignment within the supply chain. We also have to get alignment within our VGS group and also our 3PL. The ultimate goal of this was to maintain a repeatable flow of parts into facilities and being able to address any abnormals that come up in the future. We were able to do that very well. So now I want to take a step back real quick and just kind of go through the 5 different steps that we have taken. So first off, we started out, I said we used a spreadsheet and a map, bringing parts in from either 1 day to 5 days in the same truck. Hopefully they show up the next day when they're supposed to. Very little tracking, very little use of digital information, right? That was the first thing. Once we started optimizing, now I could see it. I was not very flexible in the previous. Now I'm more flexible. Now I can see it, I can visualize it, I can touch it. I know what's coming to me. And we were able to do a lot of that very quickly. In February of 16, we started to optimize. The network optimization was part of it. The TMS system was another part. The lean logistics centers fell suit. Right? And we also had the dock-specific deliveries. So why is all of this important and why does it have to all be in tune? I want to know when my parts leave a supply base, where they go, do they get split out in the right production line? Do they come to the right side of the building? Do they come to the right building at all? We have multiple shops all within a 20-mile radius. Some of them come to me, some of them go elsewhere. So we have to be able to manage that and see that, and that was very important when we started in 16. Then we moved on to the new technology, the route planning side. We've got the optimization, which was able to give us 32 what-if scenarios when something, I think I need a logistics center in Nashville, but I actually need it in Spartanburg, right? We're able to look through that and see, are we doing the right thing, or should we be changing something up? And all 32 of those can be done within a week. This was a means for us to get to that very high frequency, very low volume flow that we talked about. There was a plan for every part across the entire network. So it wasn't just a supplier to SIA, it was a supplier to the lean center, to our sequencing center, to SIA. It covers it all the way through the supply chain. Oops. And the next one was TMS. TMS was launched in 2016. It provided EDIs 214s, check calls every 15 minutes to validate where it was at, what was on it, what's going on. It strongly supported our inventory reduction. So how many people has reduced inventory by over a day in their facility? Anybody? Okay. We were able to do that and go from basically 1.25 days to 4 hours. And we were able to do that by being able to manage parts coming in. Without this, that would have never happened. Okay. We have to continue that repeatable flow, so that was very good. We also had daily adjustments, and we had part visibility to the point of unload. Okay. So new lean logistics centers, you can call them consolidation points, you can call them distribution centers, you can call them cross docks, but realistically it's bringing those parts in, maximizing that trailer load or maximizing that cube, being able to distribute those where you need them. Right? I think it was, Mel talked about Amazon, right? We talked about Amazon, how do we get it directly to the door, right? Your front footstep. Well, I've got the same issue. I've got to make sure that I can get it to where I need to go. I have to go to 10 miles down the road, or I need to come to SIA. So it was very popular in making sure that happens. When we had this, we now have every trailer that comes to the specific dock exactly where it needs to be. And I don't have to transfer or waste money going from one extreme to another, to the west side of the building, to the east side of the building, 20 miles down the road. It all comes to exactly where it's needed. In July of 16, we increased by 35% production again. We're now at 1350. We implemented a new Portland cross dock. We had the double line production. And once again, we had that integrated network going on. So when the Impreza launch came upon, did we achieve everything we wanted to achieve? Well, first off, we did get production flexibility. We were able to flex production within a very quick 1 week time frame. We could move around. We were able to manage our warehouse effectively and efficiently. We now knew that this is the space I have and I can maintain all of that space. We had increased volume. We were able to achieve that without adding more warehouse space. Bridge production, right? Adaptable to schedule changes. We were effective and efficient within our internal delivery because of the way parts were flowing in. We had mixed production and bridge production that was successful, and we had part separation, all of which we achieved prior to the Impreza launch. So as I said, with the Impreza launch, it brought a lot of challenges, right? We had 50 new suppliers, 1,000 new parts. We went from 1,350 to 1,600 a day. But that was able to go off smoothly based off what we had prepared for in the past to prepare for the future. The redesign of 17. So first off, we were able to reduce cost. We could reduce cost because we could reduce miles. We were able to get other savings because I'm not moving parts back and forth, right? And we also had transportation because we were better able to utilize our tractors and the overall mileage and cube of our trailers. There we go. And then in 17, finally, the yard management system. Our yard management system, this digital yard is real time, right? It's data-driven, it's automated, it's integrated, and it's connected. I can pull up on my phone right now and tell you where my trailers are at. I can pull up on my phone and tell you what's in that trailer. I can pull up and tell you if it's in the dock or out of the dock, unloaded, not unloaded, who did it. Right? I can see all that right here. And I live in Indiana, so I'm a ways away, right? But I can see that right now. And that's very important. So we use software, one, to eliminate the islands of information. We talked about silos. Silos have to be broken, so do islands of information. It's all got to come together as one. We also use automated technology to locate and track inventory. It helps get the entire view of the supply chain. And it also leverages sensor technology to avoid the waste of time, fuel, labor, et cetera. Right. Part of the new yard management system is before we started in 15, we had 300 trailers we dealt with on a day, North American side. We had about 150 in, 150 out. We're now over 700 with our new production numbers. We needed to do better in the yard. We went from the manual system to the automated system. We can now see it at any point in time. The drones are used to give us reads anywhere we want to go. If I want to go 15 miles down the road and check out one of our separation lanes or separation centers, I can do that. Right? I can go through with a drone and see what's there. I can tell you what's in that dock. It's not even at my facility. I can tell you if a supplier has unloaded the correct truck or if they're loading the correct truck, all through this technology. And most of all, it gives us the KPI data to improve. So now we can do better. Well, me and this thing just are not getting along today. Okay, some of the Kaizen activity, yard operation, valet. I want to keep drivers on the road. I don't want them in my yard. So our shunt drivers are out there. They're getting the trailers ready to go. A driver drops it off, picks it up, and he's back on the road where it should be. Yard operation 5S. Are we where we're supposed to be from a safety aspect? Are we where we're supposed to be from a productivity aspect? We were able to accomplish that. The return operation at the crossdock. You hear a lot about the lean centers. We're bringing parts in, separating them out, and getting them to the right docks. But when they go back, do they need to go through a crossdock? We were able to eliminate that step. So I may bring them in through one and send them back directly to the supplier. We're able to do that. A couple other things is we've asked for help from the outside, right? We need to look at some of our operations and make sure that we've got the correct flow for trailer yard management, as well as our return process. Do we have the correct flow for our return process? These are some of the studies that were done through Venture Global Solutions that were able to help us do a better job in these areas. There we go. And finally, Kaizen's never complete. So we continue to Kaizen in 17, the last quarter of 17, we're going to start a new system for returnables. We're also going to turn around time for our reroute planning, order process enhancements, and an in-plant systematic material and packaging flow. As we talked before, silos have to be broken. So once those silos are broken, you can get through a lot more. The future is going to take us a little bit farther, though. I want to talk about the results real quick. Maybe. From what we've done in 15 to where we're at now, we're able to reduce actual mileage per vehicle by 13%. We created a continuous and even delivery flow, that pipeline that I talked about. We reduced internal floor space by 35%. We have inbound visibility to routes and parts. 3-point check for early detection of problems, elimination of waste through wasted moves at the docks, and once again, continuous improvement so we can see it and do it. But that's only the first step. The next step is what we've been talking about and what the past two speakers have been talking about is that digital world. We talk about the autonomous car. We talk about the other things that are coming up, right? Whether it's hydrogen fuel or whatever it is. We have to start into that digital world because we're going to have to start collecting data on parts. At what time did you make that part today? At what time did that get on the truck? What package was it in? Who put the part on the car, right? We talk about regulations. These are just some of the things that are coming up in the future. For Subaru, this is the start. Now we're going to move into the digital world of getting that data, getting where it should be, and getting the right people in to analyze that data and see what we need to do. So, thank you very much, and into my presentation.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you. Thank you very much, Darryl. Thank you also to Mike. Again, I think we really have quite a comprehensive view over a transformation, no short of a word, for the Subaru's operation, and with real results. I mean, you can't really argue how concrete and how specific the improvements were. And I think kind of as key or as exciting as the technology, whether it's the TMS and software or it's the drones flying around, as that cultural change that needed to happen as well, breaking down the management silos, getting people to work across and communicate and not work in the old way. Again, I think this is a thread that you're picking up across our presentations. And so thank you again to both for sharing that with us.